McDonald's just released an alarming report. This past quarter was their worst since the pandemic, and it reveals cracks in the US economy are only getting wider. But instead of panicking, their CEO laid out a plan to pivot. Here's how you can use that same strategy to protect your business before it gets crushed. As a business owner, it's critical to understand that success leaves clues. And McDonald's is arguably the most successful restaurant franchise in the world. 35,000 locations globally, 14,000 in the US. Their performance is often an indicator of the broader economy, so it's crucial to pay attention, especially right now. So what happened? Well, Q1, which is January to March of 25, their US same-store sales were down 3.6% versus last year. This is the largest loss in a quarter they've had since COVID. What drove that? It was a loss in foot traffic, almost a 10% drop in people coming into the stores that were low-income customers. But even more concerning was there is nearly a 10% drop in middle-income people too. So people in the middle are getting squeezed, and that's a big problem because that's a huge part of the economy. Now, their high-income customers remains stable, but smaller portion of the business, not their core model. And as one of the lowest cost options, when people aren't choosing to go to McDonald's, they're probably not going to a competitor. They're choosing to stay home, to not spend money. And that's a bad signal for the overall health of the economy. So what are you supposed to do? Well, when things get tough, businesses have one of two options. They can freeze, they can wait, they can just keep doing what they're doing, and hopefully that will get better and adapt. But that's almost always a recipe for disaster. What other people do, what the trailblazers do, is they pivot, they adapt, they move fast, they figure out what's going to work and how they need to fit into the changes that are happening. So what does a pivot actually look like? Well, I like to call it the double cut. They double down on what's working and they cut what's not. Let's break that down. So first, you double down. Look for things that are working, even minor wins. It could be a specific store or a person who's just crushing it. It could be a marketing technique that's driving more leads, or your cost per acquisition is really low. It could be a high margin service that's selling like hotcakes. It could be a sales technique that's closing double the amount of sales. It really depends on your business, but you want to do a deep dive to figure out why is that having success, and if you can figure out how do you replicate this. So for McDonald's, it's going back to their roots of a value menu, having more low-cost items that is more affordable, even if it's a smaller product, but it creates a solution to a problem they have, which things are getting a lot more expensive. And the cost of fries is 44% up. The McNuggets are 28% up in the last 5 years. Everything is getting more expensive. And so the solution is, how do we bring it back? They're also looking to roll out some new ideas, but doing it in a way that reduces complexity. So when a business has a lot of complexity, a lot of moving parts, it adds to the overall operating cost because you need more people, you need more systems, more things can go wrong. And when you reduce complexity, when you simplify things, it lowers that operational cost and it lowers the price that you have to charge while still maintaining your profit margins. So McDonald's is also looking to do that, eliminate a number of menu items to reduce the complexity, and that will allow them to still make the same money on lower priced items. They're also looking to capitalize on the chicken tenders craze with McCrispy strips to compete with Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's. In my auto repair business, years ago, we saw customers who used payment plans spent 4 times as much per year versus regular customers because it made the repairs more affordable. It helped us build trust with the customer. It gave them a reason to come back and get more work done. And at the time, it was a very small segment of our customers, maybe 10%, but the results of those customers was eye-opening. So we developed an entire marketing strategy, sales technique, multiple vendors, built it into all of our processes and training. And today, the payment plans for us represent 25% of our business. And as we continue to double down and put focus on that, it could be 30, 40, 50% of our business one day. So that's the first thing, is you want to double down on everything that is working for you. The second part of this is to cut ruthlessly every unnecessary expense, especially the recurring ones. You can look to find lower cost vendors, looking to find technology to speed up, to consolidate, to replace, upgrade employees who are just cruising it. There's so many people who just keep seats warm and they don't actually want to be there and they're not really contributing to growing the business. And there's plenty of people out there working for other companies, maybe unemployed, who would love an opportunity, who would really care, and we'd be happy to pay them more than we're paying the other person to drive those results. For McDonald's, they've been testing a standalone drink concept called Cosmics for the last 2 years. The idea was to create a standalone chain that could compete with Starbucks and Dunkin', provide customized beverages, dirty sodas, teas, all these different things. They are now shutting it down the whole initiative, the 5 stores, they're killing their app. And it was a great example of they made a bet. They wanted to learn from it. And then they pulled the plug when they realized, like, this isn't going to change a game. It's more of a distraction from our core business than it is helpful. But they learned, right? They learned that customers didn't really care about like making all these customizations, but they did like this menu with pre-made items on it that were a little bit different. So now they're going to take those best things and add them to the McDonald's core business. This is one of the best parts about being part of a franchise network. It's that community. It's the R&D. It's that the rising tide lifts all the boats. And if I come up with a really great idea here in Philadelphia, like, why wouldn't I share that with people across the country who can benefit from it? Because they are going to reciprocate it when they have a great idea, a program, or whatever it is. Like, I'm going to learn from it. And those ideas, those learnings, being part of that community more than pays for whatever royalty I pay to be part of the brand. A lot of people don't realize this. They don't realize the power of the community, at least in some brands. Now, some brands don't have it. This is all why you want to find a great franchise, and my team can help you with that. But it's all part of the game. Now, the thing to remember here is that everyone looks like a genius in a booming economy. When the government was printing money and the PPP was going out and the COVID checks, like, sales were going, customers were flush, every decision feels like the right one. But that's not when the real game is played. The real game is played when the tide goes out. As Warren Buffett says, you see who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. And that's the real test for the entrepreneur. It's how do they respond when inflation spikes, when customer demand drops, when uncertainty clouds the forecast. That's how you find out who's built a business versus who had a good run. Now, keep in mind that you don't need to scale every year. There are seasons to business and life. For many years, my only focus was growing my business, primarily through acquisitions. And many franchise owners in the brand I'm part of struggled during that time, before and after. And it just led to this massive buying opportunity because they wanted to get out. I had built these relationships. I was still standing, and I had the cash, I had the resources, they had the trust. And so in 2020, I was doing $5.5 million. 2 years later, we were doing $30 million. This year, we're on track for $50 million. During that time, like, we had these periods where we sped up and then we hit the brakes. We sped up and we hit the brakes. We've bunkered down, we trimmed the fat, we've upgraded the teams. And those who can get through the hard times, there will be so many opportunities for you as you come out through it. So you have to understand that there's this seasonality, there's ups and downs. It's not always about go, go, go every single time, because those who stay in the game longest are those who win. But through all that, there's all these fears too. Like, I had for many years this fear around things that I couldn't control: the economy, the news, customer traffic, inflation, interest rates. Like, it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming because I was like powerless. And like, if I feel like, well, why am I going to grow the business because there's all these other things and I can't control it and I'm going to get screwed and maybe I should just like get out. It's paralyzing if you focus on all these things that you can't control. And one day something happened, something flipped inside of me, and I decided, like, screw this. Why am I focused all my energy on these things? But I should be focused on the things that I can control. I can control my pricing, my offers, my team, my systems. Like, in our business, in the auto repair business, like, we win when a customer down the street gets a flat tire, or her car overheats, or the brakes grind, or whatever it is. And she's on the side of the road and she pulls up Google and she says, auto repair shops near me. And she looks for one that has great reviews. She calls them. She's testing how friendly is the person on the phone. Are they inviting me in, or do I sound annoyed? And then when we get it in, how good of a job do we do inspecting the car, building trust, and making sure she's happy, making sure it's affordable? That has nothing to do with Russia or China or interest rates or anything else. It's, do I have great Google reviews? Are my people on the phone great? Do we have a process? Can we build trust? And if we do a good job of that, she's going to come back for more. She's going to tell her friends, her family. Like, that single event that I have 100% control of is what separates my business from anyone else's, and it's totally within my control. And so that's what I focus on. I focus on those things. Honestly, I don't really care about what competitors do, because I just want to own the 2 or 3 miles within my 34 stores. Because clarity comes from action. Clarity comes when you stop focusing on all these other things and you can narrow it down to just the few things that you can control. For McDonald's, it was, let's cut all these other things and get all those resources back on our core business. Let's simplify the menu. Let's follow the trends. Like, those are things that they can control. That's what they're going to focus on. And I know they're going to have success because they're the most successful franchise in the world, arguably. Winners don't wait for the economy to get better. They don't wait for some like magical event. They see what's coming and then they act upon it. They double down on what's working. They ruthlessly cut what's not. And the losers, they wait. they sit back, they analyze, they're keyboard warriors, they're running all these Excel spreadsheets and doing all this stuff that has no effect on driving their business. They're also making excuses, they're negative in the chats, they like want to blame everybody else. The thing is, like, you have way more control than you realize. And you can decide how you're going to play that and where you're going to put that energy. And there are seasons. You don't need to grow this quarter. You don't even grow this year. You just need to get through the squeeze, get through the turbulence. And when you do, you will come out stronger. There will be buying opportunities. There will be so many things to be able to grow your business, because this is a long-term game. Like, I'm in it for the long term, for the decades that we are putting into this. So here's what I want you to do. Let's put the double cut in action. So find one element of your business that you can double down on. Just something that's working, that's having success. You want to figure out why that's working, interview people, and then figure out how you can duplicate, how you can replicate in more stores, more events, like whatever it is. Go implement it. Just one thing. Then find one area of your business that you can cut, where you can save some money and find a better use for that cash, whether it's even could be building your safety net, could be investing in some new technology, something that will drive revenue, and then do the same thing next week. Find one thing to double down on, find one thing to cut. These small shifts will have a massive compounding effect on your business. Now imagine you do this every single week for the next 90 days. That's 13 things that you're going to do. And that is how you build a resilient, high profit business, no matter what the economy does, because you're in 100% control. And if you want to learn more insights into how I'm building an 8-figure franchise business, then hit that subscribe button. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments with what you're going to do the double cut. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.